Um, hey, how you guys doing? So, I want us to break down US oil for now, and then we're gonna break down a couple markets. So let's start with US oil, see what is happening, and then continue to the top and as we go, right? So on the monthly time frame, what we're going to do is mainly just mark out. We're going to be mainly marking out our key zones and also trying to look at what might be happening. So for one, we can see that the market is on a short term, maybe, yeah, let's call it a short term bearish trend. Okay, we can call it a short term bearish trend. Where is it driving to? Those are things that we need to note. It could potentially be driving into this area where we have an order block. Potentially, I've not said will. I'm saying it could potentially be driving into this zone. Mostly, it will be affected by uh, economic factors. Economic factors that are taking place. If yeah, so that this is there's an order block around here, so I'm just going to mark out that. Let me mark it out with a line. Let me mark it out with a black line so that it's more simpler, more easier to understand. So this zone right here, just going to mark it out like this. Okay, so that becomes a monthly order block. Okay, so I'm going to note it down as a monthly order block. Okay, positive order block. Okay, it's a positive order block like that. Okay, so yeah, it's just good to take note of that. There's also this as a monthly positive order block. Okay, I'm just taking note of what I can see, that these are areas that haven't been mitigated into, so I'm just going to take note of them as always. Monthly. Okay, this is the other monthly positive order block. Okay, we also have this fair value gap. Within this zone, we have a fair value gap. So I'm just going to note that down. But the fair value gap was already slightly mitigated into. We can see the market already mitigated into that order block. So it won't really be of importance to us. It won't really be of importance to us. Maybe this one. This could be potentially of more importance to us. So I'm just going to mark out that. And then I'm going to mark out monthly negative order block right here. So this is a monthly negative order block. We just need to take note of all these areas. Okay, it's important to mark them out because the market could react to those zones. What can we see within those zones? So negative order block, the market, you can see right here, the market, yeah, we can say the market seemingly tried to get into this order block. Okay, we can see a trial, but it didn't really touch it. Okay, so those are points to note. Those are key points to note. That is a key area. But once the market comes into that area, then what we're going to be looking for, if the market ever drives into this area, we're going to be looking for maybe half of that order block. We're going to be looking for market execution. We're not going to leave pending orders around those areas. We also have this zone right here, which is okay, also a monthly order block. Okay, so this area becomes a monthly order block that was already tested. We can see the market already mitigated into that order block, so it won't be of that importance to us, but we're going to take note of it. As always, it's important for us to take note. So monthly negative OB. Okay, what else? Can we see any other zones? Any other zones of interest? There was a fair value gap right there, but it's already mitigated into. There's this fair value gap that is right here. Market already acted on it. We can see a mitigation into that order block. So basically, with taking note of this zone, it won't be of that much importance to us. Okay, this won't be of that much importance to us. So for now, that order block, we're going to leave it alone. Mainly for our main focus will be on these two order blocks right here. If the market is to maybe drive past this order block, then we're going to see it drive into it. We're going to see it come and take this buy side liquidity. So I'm going to mark that area as monthly buy side liquidity. Okay, this is buy side liquidity. So I'm just going to mark it out as buy side liquidity. or you can take note of it as what you can take note of it as so buy side liquidity. Okay. Yeah, so buy side liquidity, right side, we have sell side liquidity right here. The market could potentially decide to come and take that, but for me, I'm not really the notion where we might drop to below to the negatives this time round. Okay, there's a time it happened, but I'm not sure. I can't say anything about that right now. Okay, that okay, but let's just note it down because it could happen. Okay, we're not saying impossible, we're not talking of impossible. So monthly, that is not monthly, that is sell side liquidity. Right there, so sell side liquidity. Okay, hope I've written it well. It is what it is. Either way. Okay, so taking note of that. Okay, we have a monthly, we have our order blocks, we have our liquidity zones. This is also liquidity. Let's just mark it out. This is also buy side liquidity. It's important to mark out those zones because the market could potentially decide to ever come and take those zones right now. So buy side liquidity. We have a lot of wars that are happening, and those Middle East wars, they could potentially drive the market past that zone. So it's important for us to take note of that. Okay, there's a lot of stop losses, there's a lot of market pending orders that are around here and stop losses around there. So the market is going to trigger those pending orders and then drive to their stop losses. So all those are key points that we need to take note of. Okay, we need to take note of. We can see the market came and took out this liquidity that was resting around here, took it out. So this is the only liquidity left around that zone that we might think of focusing on for now. Liquidity below this zone has already been taken. Okay, we can see a lot of equal lows that were around here, but they were already taken by this candle. So if the market actually decides to drive into this zone, we might see it go into much deeper negative zones because we already took this. Okay, so those are just key points to note. Now let's just mark out very strong areas within this monthly time frame, and then let's mark out some very strong zones within this monthly time frame and take note of them, because the market could eventually come back into those zones in the near future, right? So there's this area right here where you can see the market as was reacting towards right here. We can take note of it. Yeah, this zone right here. So I'm gonna mark it out with this right here. Okay, because it's not only once that I've seen this happening. I've seen this happening a couple times right here. Let's change this color. It's not in like yeah, that would do. Okay, so we can see this area. I'm gonna mark out that area like this. I'm gonna mark out that area like this. Okay, yeah, something like that. Yep, right there. So look at that. So this area right here, this area is a key zone for us. Okay, it's a key zone for us. If the market decides to come into this area, we're going to be monitoring those area. We're going to be monitoring that area, because you can see each time the market drove into that area, there was something that was happening. So okay, if we drive below that area, we'll be waiting for a retest and a continuation to the downside. Maybe take this this entire candle. Okay, so that is something that we're going to be taking note of. What other areas are we going to be taking note of? This area right here. Yeah, let me mark it with a horizontal line on that, just a straight horizontal line, this area right there. Okay, we're going to be taking note of that. I'm going to do this because this area we can slightly extend it to something like this. Okay, because yeah, something like this. Okay, yeah, something like that. Overall, I think the market has been bearish. It has been bearish for some time. The market has been bearish for some time. This entire last week we were bearish. I think we got in some couple entries from there. Let's keep looking. Let's keep looking at other areas that we might interest us, might pique our interest. There's this zone right here. Yeah, there's a lot of candle bodies around that zone, so I'm going to mark it out because you can see from here, from here, from here. So that zone, this zone becomes a key zone for us. You can just see how many times the market has been touching that zone and retracing into that zone. So in case, let's say we break into this zone, though we have order blocks around that zone, let's say half of this, it is actually between half of that order block. So within that zone, we are actually going to be checking on what has been happening around that area. Okay, there's also this zone right here. This zone right here. Okay, we're going to have to mark out that area and see exactly what was happening within that zone. So I think it's something like around from here. Yeah, I'm going to make that from here. Let's look at it because I see it between this area and this area and this area. Yeah, around there. So we're going to extend that to the farthest right. Okay, we're going to extend that. See more detail that we can capture around that area. Okay, it's important to actually take note of every detail that we can capture around that area. So in case market decides to come into that area, we will know what to do then. Okay, so clearly the market is driving into this zone. Okay, we can see that the market is driving into this zone. So if the market breaks into this zone, we can expect it around here. Okay, that is a clear picture that we can get from what we are seeing. Okay. Which other areas are of importance to us? Which other areas seem of more importance to us? Let's look. Because I can see the market creating, I won't call this higher highs and higher lows, but I will not, they're slightly high highs and higher lows, but what I'm seeing is some sort of retracement, and this market is actually in a consolidation. It's in a loop. The market has been stuck within this zone. You can see from this area to this area, the market has been stuck within that area for a lot of years, not just months, a lot of years. So for us, these zones, we're just going to be taking note of key areas where you can see maybe the market has been reacting towards, and what reactions we've been taking note of around those areas. There's also this zone right here. Okay, there's this zone to take note of. This one right here. Where would I put it? Right here. Yeah, there's this zone around. I think I'm gonna put it around here because you can clearly see this is actually a large zone. It's actually a large zone. It's not just here, but it also extends to here. It also extends up to this area right here, where we could potentially see retracements from that zone. So it's just important to mark those areas out. Maybe if we go on lower time frames, we might see it more clearly what we're actually looking at. Okay, what we're actually looking at. So market has broken slightly into this zone. Yeah, so we can call this entire area up to here, because I really like putting it on candle bodies so that you can just see it clearly. And it's actually on candle bodies where you'll take note that the market has been rejecting. You can see that it has been rejecting these zones. It has been rejecting the zones. So this is a trap zone. If the market is inside a trap, it's inside a trap, so it could break into this zone and drive it to this side, or we could see it push to the upside. Any can do, but for now the market is on a downtrend. What could potentially maybe make it react is this order block right here. Okay, there's this slight false order block. I won't call it a real order block. I'm going to call it a false order block, and there's a fair value gap right there. Okay, so maybe we focus mostly on this fair value gap. Okay, maybe we focus mostly on this fair value gap, this fair value gap right here. So I'm going to mark it out. I'm going to mark it out with a line and name it monthly fair value gap right there. Okay, that the market could decide to drive into, and potentially we will highly likely see it coming into this zone and then reacting from that zone. So monthly FVG. Okay, it's a monthly fair value gap, so that area becomes a key area for us. I usually trade you'll actually realize I trade US oil a lot more than actually okay, you can see something like that. I'm just taking note of the details that I can see. Okay, I usually just take note of details that I can see in the market. Because those small details are the ones that actually make you see a bigger picture of what could potentially be happening. So if I decide to, let's say, put it on the candle bodies, if I put it on the candle bodies like something like this, okay, we can say the market was creating high highs, high lows, and then it decided to break into this zone, created a very deep low, and now it's pushing back. It pushed back up, created a high. So for now, we can say maybe it's retracing into the zone now to go create more highs and high lows, high highs, high lows. According to the economic situation that we are in right now, potentially we could see the market completely drive to the upside. That is something to take note of. Okay, that's something to take note of. In the near future, obviously the prices will keep going up, unless the electric vehicles take over, and yeah, that could only be the leading cause of maybe the downfall of oil. Other than that, I think okay, something like this. I'm just taking note of small details that I can see. Okay, I'm taking note of small details I can see before we actually focus on. Okay, because you'll just, if you take small details, you'll actually realize that those zones, you can see the market was reacting towards these zones. You can just see clearly. So let's say the market breaks below this, and then it has broken below this. I will just know if I get a retracement and then rejection, I will take it to the downside. Obviously, I'm going to keep taking it to the downside. And where am I going to focus to take it to? I'm going to focus to take it to this monthly order block and then drive it upwards. Okay, this monthly order block or this monthly order block, but mostly I'm going to focus on this monthly order block because it's at a very strong area, and then drive it to the upside. So it's good to take notes of small details of what you can clearly see, what you can see. Okay, because that is something I can see, that is something I've spotted, and it is of interest to me. It has piqued my interest. That's why you'll just see me draw such lines, because when I see something that piques my interest, it's advisable to actually take note of it. Okay, let's see this. Okay, yeah, okay, you can see something like that. For you might not understand what I'm seeing, but for me this will be like rejection zones, where you can expect if the market maybe comes into those zones, you might get rejection blocks from those areas. So it's just zones to take note of. Okay, it's zones that you need to take note of. So I'm just monitoring, looking at what has been happening, and you can clearly see the market has been playing within a certain structure. Okay, it has been playing within a certain structure. So let's say the market rejects its zone, we see a green candle. What we're going to be expecting is the market will drive up, and we might see it up to this zone. So what we're going to be waiting for is maybe a break, a rejection from this zone, maybe a push to the downside, and then a complete break. And then if we break, we're going to see a retest of this zone, because this line right here shows that this area has been of high resistance, maybe a retracement into this zone, and a push to the upside. We have an order block right here, and then we have an order block right here. I would say maybe we take half of that order block, and then we drive back down, things like those. So it's important to take note of details like those. Okay, so that is something that I've taken note of. Yeah, clearly that those are more important areas for us to take note of. So I think basically I've taken note of almost everything that I need, because this side I was taking note of key areas. So what potentially could happen? What could potentially happen? So there's this area where we're waiting to see, will the market break into it? If it breaks maybe below this zone, where could we potentially see it? We could potentially see it here. But what could make this area become what could make this area, instead of this market dropping into this zone, what could make this market just reject this zone and push to the upside? What could happen is that this zone right here, we could treat this as an order block. We can also treat this as a okay, let me mark it out so I show you this right here. We can treat that area, this entire area, as a zone that had accumulation. The market was accumulating. The market was in a consolidation. That's what you call it, a consolidation. So you can clearly see within this area, the market was in a consolidation. Around here, you can see that. So the market is coming into that zone, a retest into this zone. So there's a lot of confluences that tell us the market could decide to drive up from this zone. Okay, we could now potentially see the market driving to the upside just based on this zone. Okay, we have an order block around here. We have a former consolidation accumulation area. So we're going to be seeing those things, and then there's a slight uptrend within whatever play has been happening here. There's a slight uptrend, and there's also the market has been also playing within this trend. Okay, so what we're seeking is maybe the market breaks above this, retest above this, and then we'll see a very strong push to this order block, which will retest this, and then we take the order block, maybe come and grab this buy side liquidity before now we drive to the downside. Because obviously this buy side liquidity will have to be taken because we have mitigated into this order block. So what we will be looking at is maybe a reaction from this order block, but it won't be that deep. It could just potentially send us back into this area. Okay, because we can say that the market had already given a slight impact from this. Okay, this we can call those equal highs. Let's call them equal highs because they're actually equal highs. This area right here. Okay, I'm gonna call that equal highs right there. Okay, those are equal highs. So EQH. Okay, it's important to take note of such details, small details that you can see. So the market will come and take this. If it takes this, we see a reaction, maybe to the downside, a strong one into now this zone. Okay, that will give us a strong reaction into this zone, where now we get a complete push to now come and take all this buy side liquidity that is above this area, that is resting within that area, and then now we see complete beautiful market structure. Okay, so in the near future we can expect the market will continue to the upside, but first from this week I can expect mostly to see maybe this push to the upside, or it might decide to take, because there's a lot of equal lows around this area. So there's a lot of liquidity resting within this area. Okay, you can see how many candles have formed like equal lows around here. So we can expect that the market could decide to actually take these equal lows that we're taking note of right around this area. Okay, because that is actually liquidity, resting liquidity. So we're gonna take note of that as equal lows that could potentially cause this market, because that is now liquidity that has to be taken. So EQL, okay, that could force this market to take it. Okay, could force this market to the downside, maybe grab it and then come into this fair value gap that we saw around here, and then now drive to the upside. That is something that could potentially happen. So we could potentially see a strong push to this zone, and then a strong rejection, getting us back into this trend, and then a continuation. And now if we get into this zone, we will probably drive past this buy side liquidity. It's something just we're taking note of. Okay. Let's go to the daily time frame. Maybe see the weekly time frame. Sorry, not the daily time frame, the weekly time frame. We see if we can take note of other details. Okay, other details. But we've taken note of a lot of details that could actually potentially help us in the daily time frame. Okay, in the monthly time frame. Sorry. Let's just focus on the weekly time frame. We might see more details. Okay, we might see more details that might help us. Okay, as I said, this zone right here, there's a lot of equal lows around this zone. Okay, there's a lot of equal lows around this zone. So the market could potentially take this, but you're seeing that the market was reacting to this trend line that I had set out right there, but it's on another trend line going to the downside. So probably I would say, and it's trapped within this zone. I would probably say we could potentially see the market drive completely. We might see another red candle, very strong red candle, come and take all this liquidity that is under here, including this. So we might see it at now this fair value gap now, where we can clearly see the fair value gap on the weekly time frame. So we might drive into this zone right here, into this zone, this weekly fair value gap. Within this fair value gap, now we drive to the upside. Okay, so basically I'm still bearish. I was bearish on US oil, and I'm still very, very bearish on US oil because I expect it now to come into this area. Okay, so I'm going to take note of that. I'm going to take note of this zone right here, and I'm going to mark it out as weekly fair value gap that is unmitigated. Okay, so the market has not mitigated into this weekly fair value gap, so it's highly likely the market is going to drive into this area. So we're going to take note of it. Weekly fair value gap. So this is the zone we're going to be waiting for. We're going to be looking to drive the market into this zone, and we're also going to be looking to take now positions from this area. Okay, from this area we're going to be looking to take positions. Maybe I'll stop loss slightly below it because there's an order block around there. Small consolidation around that zone. So what we're going to be looking to do is maybe get an entry within that area, maybe put our stop loss around here. We can't forget that there's also this fair value gap that we also need to take note of. Okay, we also need to take note of this, but seemingly it has been mitigated into slightly. You can see. Okay, if you take a look, okay, I don't know if you can see it, but if you take a look right here, you'll notice that this red candle actually mitigated into this fair value gap. So it's not of that much importance to us as much as this one. This one wasn't mitigated into, but we're going to take note of it. Okay, we're going to take note of it. So weekly fair value gap. Okay, we take note of it. As always, it could potentially help us in the near future, but for now I think that this is the zone. But since we want safety, so let's say we're going to be looking for entries at this fair value gap, and then we're going to put our stop loss slightly below that fair value gap. Okay, this other weekly fair value gap, just in case. Okay, just in case it decides to drive into it. And then we're going to be looking to take now buy side liquidity that was resting above those zones. Okay, we had buy side liquidity. This was a monthly order block, so we're going to be looking to get maybe into this order block, but not only get into that order block, there's this weekly order block. As I said, it's highly likely that this market will drive into this zone. So we're going to see the market driving into this area. The monthly order block isn't going to give us that much, but this is going to give us the entry. So weekly negative OB. Okay, negative order block. So we're going to be looking to drive the market into this zone. Okay, into this zone, taking note that this will be your first take profit. This will be one of our take profits. This will be another take profit. we'll also take some profit around this zone. Okay, so as I've said, we're taking note of what we can, and yeah. So from here, we're going to be looking for entries. We're going to be looking for entries, maybe a fair value gap on lower time frames, and then we drive it to the downside. Potentially, this market will continue pushing to the downside. Small reaction wants to break through. We get a breakthrough, retest, continuation to the downside. We take that. So something like this. It's almost a similar scenario than the one that I had recently on gold. Let me show you. So we're going to break into the zone. We're going to seek to break into this zone right here. A retest, strong continuation to this weekly fair value gap. So maybe let's say it maybe drive into it slightly, but this weekly fair value gap, maybe we drive into half of it. Okay, slightly half of it right there, and then rejection from this zone, because it won't be easy to leave this zone. Something like this, you can clearly see the same thing has been happening there, and then a break. The strong break will send us into this area, and then we see maybe a rejection slide into that area, and then this, and then this, and then a break into that area. Now we're gonna get a push like this, push like this, push like this, push like this, break. Okay, so this is what I expect. So that is what I expect. This type of movement is what I expect on US oil. Okay, so it's good to prepare. It's good to take note of the details that you can, and this is the entry we're looking for. So this week we're going to be looking to sell. We're going to be looking to sell into this weekly fair value gap, where we're now going to be looking to buy. Okay, I hope you've taken note of that. I hope it helps you. I hope it helps you this week. I've said we're still bearish on US oil. We're still slightly bearish on US oil as we look forward for the next week. Yeah, I'm going to take note. I'm going to stop US oil at the weekly, because going on lower time frames is like useless. You can go on lower time frames to look for entries around that zone to sell. Maybe a fair value gap, order block. Is it within a discount? Right here, we'll be looking to sell from premium areas into discount areas. Okay, yeah. So that's said and done. I think we're good there. I think we're good around there. So US oil, use that setup. It will help you in the near future.